Myself, Jayanta Basu from the Telegraph newspaper, ABP, India. Honorable Minister, you just mentioned about the Bangladesh priorities and what exactly you want to be part of the cover decision. We all know the cover decision, outline of the cover decision or the discussion to be held has come out yesterday. And we find all sort of things are there. In one line, they are saying that $100 billion is not there. The second line, they are saying that there is adequate finance. So my question as the chair of the vulnerable countries to Bangladesh is two questions. Number one is, at this point of time, the second week has just started. The actual negotiation has just started. What is your stand at this point of time regarding the vulnerable countries? What exactly you want in a pragmatic way at next Friday? What are the red lines? Where do you agree, which we will not agree? That's my first question. And second question is, apparently the UK is pushing the net zero as the success point of this summit. We all know that it will be going up as a net zero summit. So while we are talking about net zero is a good thing down the 2050 or whatever, but that at the same time, all the real issues, finance, loss and damage are being pushed back. So how happy you are with this all sucking net zero into the whole process? What's your stand on that? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I'm Sabir Chaudhary. I chair the Parliamentary Committee on Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. With regard to the first question, as you have also acknowledged, we are only starting the second week. So we don't want to pre-call it or pre-judge it. We are all here in good faith. We know that trust is in short supply. There is a huge trust deficit. And we hope one of the areas that will be different in this COP is going to be the bridges are going to be built and the trust is going to be reestablished. And when you talk about a Bangladesh position, I think it's the global position. We are not demanding something just for Bangladesh. We are asking for something which is good for the planet. And so when we talk about our red lines, of course the 1.5 is a red line. And I think we are encouraged by the fact that Paris doesn't actually specify 1.5. It talks about 2 and below. But the fact that 1.5 now seems to be generally accepted, I think it's positive. Having said that, the caveat that I would put on it is look at the suffering, look at the pain, look at the devastation, the loss that we are suffering at 1.1 degrees Celsius. So 1.5 is not a silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems. That should be the absolute minimum. We can't go above that. And even at that level, there is going to be considerable needs for adaptation, loss and damage comes into the picture. So that's number one. In terms of the finance, we are not asking for anything new. It's not a new proposition. We are merely asking the world or the global community to live up to their commitments. That commitment was $100 billion from 2020. And there'll be an equal split between adaptation and mitigation. So not only have we failed to reach 100 billion, the mix between adaptation and mitigation is really skewed. I think we are now looking at about 20-25% adaptation, and the rest is on mitigation. So we want an equal balance. And of course, when you look at it down the road, if you're looking at 2024 onwards, this figure has to be raised substantially. Because when we talk about 100 billion compared to the needs, it is nowhere near adequate. So we are also focused on the post-2024 architecture, the financial architecture. So that's there. And then the whole issue of how we deal with displacement. Bangladesh has this very real issue. Of course, we sympathize fully. We are in full solidarity with the CVF and the small island nations as well on this. Just a 1 meter rise in sea level is going to potentially displace 40 million people, 40 million, 40. And so what do we do? That too in one of the most densely populated countries. If there's a 1 meter rise in sea level, we are projecting that the land boundaries, the map of Bangladesh is going to change. We will lose acreage, which is now there for food. So food security is a problem. Water stress is a problem. You are from India, and the Himalayas are the water towers for South Asia. They supply fresh water to 800 million people. So once the glaciers run dry and they melt, where are we going to get our supply of fresh water? So these are all existential challenges for Bangladesh. So when you're talking about existential challenges, there is no red line as such. It's what you need to achieve. And there is no second chance. So this COP has to get it right because there isn't a second planet. So we are hoping that we are going to deliver on Paris. And the other important point to differentiate is, you have the UNFCCC as a treaty, and you have the Paris Agreement. So if global leaders fail to deliver on Paris, they are also failing the treaty. The fundamental objective of the treaty is to stabilize concentrations of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. And that we are patently failing to do. So it's not just a failure to arrive at a decision at COP. You're also frustrating the treaty that all of the countries have signed up to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our time is up to 5 p.m. Actually, I want to take some quick questions.
One thing I can add regarding the fund, we are telling for the 100 billion, but at the same time, as you say, we have sufficient fund. This is our commitment. You see, in our NDC, we are committed to reduce our emission 6.53%. And this is not supported from outside fund. We have our 8 5-year plan, and every development project considers the emission issue. At the same time, we have a separate program. We have climate fund, especially. So 6.53 is not supported by outside fund. This is from our own fund. Here is the question of sufficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Minister. My name is John Mary Odoi from Uganda, and I'd like to thank you for the submission that you've made. My question is that developing countries, which I think your country is as well, we are concentrating so much on looking up to the developed countries to raise their 100 billion. And we are actually waiting very anxiously to see how that money comes so that we can be able to roll out our programs. I'm just wondering whether there is plan B for your country or for the various countries, the developing countries, whether there's plan B in case that money does not come, maybe in time, or even if it comes, maybe it's going to be hard to access it. Is there anything that we can do to see that, other than that, maybe there's also another process through which you can raise funds to do the kind of work that we're expected to do? Thank you.
May I answer that?
Sir, I request Kholikujaman sir to answer this question.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good question. We are looking up to them to give us money and then do our adaptation and other activities. But Bangladesh is not just looking up to them. We are also trying on our own. We have a trust fund where money is transferred from the budget directly for climate action. And then also in the budget itself, under several categories, we spent about 1.5% of our GDP on climate actions. But that's not enough, because the world is fast becoming more and more vulnerable to climate change, and Bangladesh is at the forefront. And therefore, there are more sea level rise, salinity ingression, river erosion, cyclones, floods, not drought also, and rains not at the time when it should be, and at other times when we don't need the rains. So these are all the elements in the changing pattern of climate. And therefore, we need much more money. But we are trying our best with our own resources, whatever we can do. But we need two things, essentially. One is technology, and the other is finance. Finance is necessary if we want to adequately address the problems that have been created. It's not our fault. So it's the fault of those who have been emitting greenhouse gases for a long time. They are the ones who have caused it, and they should come forward to help. And they have committed. The more important thing is they have committed. In the IPCC process, they have agreed that they are responsible. I have been IPCC lead authors in 2 third and fourth assessments. So they have agreed. And they have also committed funds. But the problem is commitment is not delivered. So we now want from now on. Commitment has been made. 100 billion way back in Copenhagen 10, 11 years ago, but only about 20 billion has been delivered to the GCF. And there, just one moment. Then, no, it is, we are told that 80 billion has been provided under this umbrella. 80 billion is out of 200 billion, 2 years, so 120 billion short. Now we are talking that in 23 that will be fulfilled. So I think we should walk the talk internationally, and we should be very transparent. Sometimes transparency is making our life hell. We are told we have got so much, but when we go down to the brass tacks, it's not there.
To the end of the time, sir, I want to take only one question. I just request you to go to her.
Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. I'm Elizabeth from Norwegian Press. 2 questions, very short ones. The one is, what is Bangladesh's position on giving refugee rights to climate refugees on equal level with other refugees? And the second one, tomorrow I realized that here in this forum there will be the Gender and Women Day, and I was wondering your position when it comes to the plight of women under the climate crisis in Bangladesh particularly. Thank you very much.
I request Dr. Ainul Nishat to address this question from Bangladesh.
Thank you. Madam, short questions require long answers. So when you say short question, I got scared. But the answers are very straightforward. Gender is taken seriously, and we are now developing the National Adaptation Plan, and it will pay attention to all issues concerned with gender issues and as well as physical disability. And our motto would be, our principle would be, no one should be left behind. So we are working that. We have a strategy document and planning process is going on. Our parliament is very serious about it. So any action plan we prepare, gender is seriously considered. And the other question was, refugees. We have already started taking up evaluation of the people who are moving out. From the coastal belt, people are moving out. In fact, from my district where my ancestral home is, in some of the villages, the population is hardly 1/3 of the original. So the storm surges and salinity increase are forcing people to move out. We have already taken projects to rehabilitate the people who have moved out inside the country. Under Prime Minister's patronage, we are constructing small but reasonably, to meet the basic requirement, houses for the people who are losing their land mainly due to riverbank erosion and also to storm surges. We are not only paying attention to that, we have action plan to respond to this particular action. But what we are scared is, the Honorable Member of Parliament said, the number could be mind-boggling. So we have started to work, pay attention to it, but we do not know how we will handle the magnitude of the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are at the end of our session. Now I request our Honorable Minister, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Mr. M.D. Shahabuddin MP, for giving thanks to the audience for participating here. Mr. M.D. Shahabuddin MP, Honorable Minister.
Wishes to balanced and fair outcome at Glasgow by strengthening a common global commitment for living healthy and planet for our future generation. Thank you all.
No, I'm sorry.